The truck coming together very, very well. Last time you saw, we didn't really have much on there. We had these forward tubes that were kind of tacked in. We had this one cross tube in the back, but now we have some serious structure going on here. We just added these plates, which bring in our cross ties. So now we have 2 removable bars that will connect the left and the right side so that we have that extra load transferring all the way through the chassis. That's the whole idea of what's going on here. And as I mentioned in the last conversation, we have these bars that are tying in from here down to these uprights. And this is where our shocks mount, and this is where our bump stop will mount. And so we have full support there now instead of just the engine cage grabbing this top side. So we are still gonna make a crossbar here to help transfer some more load, but now we have just this solid 2-inch bar coming all the way to the front, it tying in down to the frame rail. And so that's fully supported. And then we have these 2 pieces that come in on either side of the shock tower. So just very, very triangulated, very strong. Come over on this side and get a little better of a view of it all. So like I said, these 2 pieces coming in, grabbing this strut tower, this big crossbar, which is removable. So if we have to pull the motor out, this whole front end comes off, this comes off, and we can yank it out. And one of the cooler bits about us adding these triangulated bars is, we wanted to get something here that goes back yet again, something that's removable in case we gotta get in there. Especially for like dropping the shocks in. Now we can drop them in from the top, makes the install super easy. But this is actually spare tie rod. So this is the same piece that we run as our actual tie rods. And so we got the idea of if we're gonna add in this 1 to 2 foot long bar to triangulate from the front of this support back to this rear crossbar behind the engine, we're looking at the tie rod, that's basically what it's gonna be. So we just made it the same length as a tie rod, so now we have just like super spare tie rods, because why not make things universal?
These ones will be on pins. We were talking about putting like a quick release pin, because these are our spare tie rods.
Yeah.
So we're building these that'll stay in the chassis right here. I'm gonna build a new plate structure that goes in the back of the motor, and then that'll basically house these guys. So if you ever need a tie rod on the trailer, you can just pull the quick pins off. These will come out. You can put them in and then put it back. Just looks like a good place for them.
So we're just gonna make this final little triangulated plate, very similar to this, just to get this final swing positioning in place. And so that'll be cool. Now we have some spare of those. Ideally, we're not digging them out, but if we need to grab one, we got one, which is pretty rad. You can see this is all supported together. We have this down bar here as well, which goes back down to the cage. So now we're coming off of not just the top of this A-pillar where the dash bar is, and tying into this front bar out through the front, but we also have this going down to the bottom of the A-pillar, so it really comes together, ties together to this entire point, this juncture, to the top of the shock tower, and then down to the frame. We put these little kicks in the tubes to give us the tire clearance that we need, since we're gonna be running those 37-inch X-Comps now. We have this little bit extra room for the tire to come in. We did cut into here because this factory sheet metal that came out this way was just starting to rub. So boys went through and cut this out, plated this in, so we have that little bit extra clearance. So yeah, now we have the tire coming all the way up and in. We get full range of motion, good steer, and we cut the bump stop out because now with this all removed, we know we're gonna have more up travel. That's gonna be our biggest gain in this setup, is getting a little more up travel, because before our bump stop was set to limit based on when the tire was hitting all of that factory sheet metal. So I don't know exactly how much travel we picked up, but it's gonna be enough, right? Which is more than none. So moving on to the front, like we said, we threw everything on here just to kind of get a visual of where it's going to be so we can get this all placed. We got to go through and kind of re-straighten, rehang these things. We kind of just threw it on there so that we could see where this tube could be as far as depth. And it's a snug fit. We're like right up against the fan. We're right in front of this intake. So, just enough room to get your hand in here in some places. We're probably going to redo 1 or 2 things on the front as far as like this fan. It's nice. It just drops in, plugs in. It's the factory Frontier fan. It is a little large. I don't think it's going to be in the way. We're considering running a smaller fan setup on here. We are still considering running a different power steering and transmission cooler that will give us a little more clearance up front as well. And getting something up there maybe from Earl's to have a nice deep finned cooler with the fan on there, nice and tidy. And so that'll allow us to kind of move some things around if necessary, but it's all really starting to fall together quite well. I don't know if we need to really move too much more as far as coolers up in the front. But yeah, this little tie rod trick was pretty nifty. Right here, like we said, we have the relief in here for the Alaria Tech brake master cylinder setup, the dual master cylinder setup, I should say. So that fits in here nicely. Yet again, like I said, removing the ABS pump, removing the booster and everything gave us the room and the ability to do all of this. ECU is now mounted onto the engine. That makes a huge difference for us as well. So everything is looking really, really good. We have a few more pieces to tie in. Obviously, we still have to mount the bump stop. We have to get the bump stop kind of situated before we can really place this as well, because it's going to be somewhere in this range. We'll make sure we don't hit it. So that's why we have a few things undone still as we finalize the full travel to get the bump stop location, which we are waiting for our lower control arms to come back from CJD, getting some fresh ones made so that we have a nice fresh pair of uppers and lowers for the truck. These will become the spares because we did not have a set of spares before. So good to have that on the road with us in case we have something like what happened last time happen to us, but that's not gonna happen again, right? But over here, we got our Bilstein shocks. These came back from rebuild, so got our 18-inch triple bypass for the rear. So these bolt in on that upper mount by the roll cage and go all the way down to the axle. The axle's over at Curry Enterprises getting refreshed, rebuilt as well. The front setup, we're going with a different spring rate from Eibach springs, going a little bit heavier. Don't look at the spring numbers. I'm just kidding, you're gonna look at it, 750 pounds. Who else is building medium, wide, long travel, 3rd gen Frontiers with custom control arms? Obviously, anyone that is in this realm is gonna be doing custom spring rates for their setup. But we have been continuously going up in the spring rate. We started off at 550s, we went to 600s, then we went to 650s, and now we're just gonna jump straight over. These are actually 7s. I'm sorry, these are 7s, these are 750s. So we wanted to, once again, like as we continue to strengthen the truck and be able to carry more speed, we need more spring rate to help hold that truck up. So it's not just soft and eating up all the bumps. We need it to actually be, because we're hitting it harder now because of the strength of the chassis getting better. We need a stiffer spring to take that hit. And then with all of that, we're changing the valving every time we adjust the spring rates to keep the truck under control. So it's a very, very interesting, very fun process, very different than drifting, if you will. You know, you obviously get into these realms of, you know, you upgrade this and then you need to upgrade that and then you need to upgrade that and you get down this chain. And we are very deep in that chain right now. As we continue to make the truck better, then it's like, oh no, the shocks need to be better. And if the shocks are better, we need more spring rate. If the spring rate's up higher, then we need to revalve those again. So it's interesting how it all goes, but I'm having a blast with it. It's very challenging. It's an entirely different type of endurance racing that I never did before. Well, as in like, yes, I have done a couple off-road races. What I mean is outside of before we got into off-road racing, there's nothing else like it, right? So I've always done drifting. I've done a little bit of road racing. And then once we got like heavy into off-road, it's like there's nothing else like it. Everything that you need for the truck, you have to have with you. It's very different in that regard. You can't just come back to the pit after a 1-minute lap and service the vehicle. It's like you get in and you go. So you got to make sure it's tough. Got to make sure you got everything you need. Got to make sure everything's tight. Because if something comes loose, you know, you're going, 2, 3, 4 hours between seeing your pit stops at times. So it's not like you go and turn a couple laps and make sure everything's good before top 16. It's very much built to last. And that's the biggest thing with off-road is just the survival aspect and the preparation. So I feel like we are rebuilding this truck before every race. However, ideally, this is our big off-season rebuild, restructuring the front, making it stronger than ever, better than ever. What we would be doing between races is essentially just, fluid changes, double check a few, bits of the hardware, make sure nothing's coming loose, nothing bolted, maybe re-Loctite some things, and then going through the shocks. The biggest thing that Bilstein helps us with, and one of the things that we learned with off-road is the more you can rebuild the shocks, the better. You want new fluid in the shocks. You want to make sure the seals are good because they are getting worked harder than anything else on the truck. Making sure those are fresh is the perfect starting point for any off-road race. So waiting on a few more components with them. They actually gave us a 4-way front bypass to test fit, and we did that and it looks good. So we will be upgrading from a 3-way bypass up front to a 4-way bypass. So we have a little more control to have high speed and low speed adjustability on both the compression, which is the bump, and the rebound, which is the droop. 14 days till KOH? I think 14, right? 13? Something like that. We got some. What is it? No, we got more than that. Oh my God, we got plenty of time.
Oh, we're good.
Oh, we're totally good. We got like 2.5 weeks. I thought we had like just under 2 weeks. So yeah, it is currently Tuesday the 13th for those that would love to know. Tuesday 13th, and we're heading for hammers on the 2nd. So February 2nd, we'll be out there hanging out with Optima Oasis area, and we'll be hopping in this truck and taking out, doing some test riding, getting the shocks set up, getting everything dialed. We're actually going to be out there running it with no fenders or anything, so it's going to look pretty cool, just like the wheels exposed, being able to get visibility on everything, and making sure our body panels are still nice and clean for Mint 400, because that's going to be like a quick turnaround. It's like 2 weeks until Mint 400 after our hammers testing. So like I said, we'll be out there hanging out with Optima and our other friends in the off-road space, making sure this thing is tight and right, and that gives us a solid 2 weeks before we actually go back out for our first race of 26.